Welcome back to Golf 215. I'm Anthony. He is Joe. What's up, buddy?
Not much. I didn't, but
Doing good. We have Mike Callahan back on the show. You guys might remember him from The Crossing. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how are you guys? It's good to see you again.
Absolutely. Super excited for this. It's been a little while, but we were just talking. There's possibly a crossing update, so let's just dive in. We're excited to hear.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, fellas. So it's been good. There's been a lot of good action running just with the crossing in general. Since we last spoke, obviously we spent a lot of time talking about the vision and what it's for. Just to regroup on that again, really the goal is to build a par three short course that is really like the Cradle, which maybe we'll spend a little bit of time talking about today. But the it's trying to bring that short course that's at every resort course, or really kind of the big up and coming resort courses, bring it into the community, because why not? Golf is a game that takes too much time. It's a game that more people want to break into, but struggle with the intimidation of 18 holes at either a private club or a public golf course. Plus, you think about our area, public golf is getting plowed over for a lot of housing developments. That land is pretty valuable. So trying to find maybe a smaller parcel to build something out on and bring back the short game, really the upgraded chip and putt is really the way I'm thinking about this. So since we last spoke, just the big update that I'll give you on this is a lot of this. As I went through the whole vision, as I've been thinking about what I'm trying to accomplish here, it's really to give back. It's to give back to the community. It's to give back through the game of golf, and it's really to open up the opportunity for people to learn and play and grow. So where I'm looking at right now is we're working on trying to expand and find partnerships with townships and find a way to maybe build this within a local township or build it in an area that maybe someone can donate land to, because everything's going to be through a charitable organization. I have been in discussions with the First Tee of Philadelphia, potentially working with them on this project. They've been awesome guys to work with, awesome group overall. I love their mission. I love what they've done. So we've had some really good dialogues on how do we bring this to life, and truly finding that piece of land is going to be the most important part. So shameless plug here: if you know anyone that's trying to get rid of 20 acres for free, or donate it out to a good cause, or a township supervisor that wants to talk about the project, where we've been connecting with a lot of the local townships and are starting to get some really good traction. But it's now trying to find the one that wants to be progressive and has that piece of land that they're like, what am I going to do with 15, 20 acres? It's flat. It's nothing, maybe it's wetlands. There's not much we can build on it. Can't do a true park. Let's build a golf course. Let's put the par three short course there and really bring something that brings the community together and gives them an activity to play.
I,
Nice,
I
Mike.
wish I had 15 or 20 acres to throw to you. But so if any of our listeners out there do, hit us up and we'll get you in touch with Mike.
Yeah, Mike,
Please
where can
do.
they reach you at?
Yeah, so website's still active. So if you go to thecrossinggc.com, you can send me a note through there, or as simple as Mike at thecrossinggc.com. Just send me a note. Truly appreciate anyone that has advice or connections. That's what we're trying to build off of here. Golf's a community game, and the amount of people I've met through this project, it's just continuing to build off the introductions that go from one to another, which has been really a great experience through this whole thing.
Awesome. And you're on Instagram too, right?
I am, yep, the crossing underscore GC.
Sweet.
Give us a
And
follow, drop me a note. Very active on there.
awesome. And if you guys are on his website, go check out his merch. They got a
Wearing
sweet
one of the new
logo and
hats
some
on here.
really
Got some branded
nice.
bills ones in.
Nice. And listen, I was saving this for tonight, walking with the caddy, and I have your head cover on. And he goes, "Yo, who's this? What course is this?" And I was like, "It's an up and comer. It's an up and comer in the around the Philadelphia area." He goes, "Sweet logo."
Oh, I love that. Love to hear that. That's awesome
Yeah,
feedback.
yeah. Shout out Brandon. What an awesome caddy.
He
Oh,
did,
that's
and
fantastic.
I thought that was great when he said that. I was like, oh, he's gonna love that.
I was like, Mike's
And
gonna
I
love it. I'm gonna hold it. I know we're talking to him. I'm gonna hold this one.
and I just
Oh,
noticed the
that
hoodie that Mike's wearing too. So thank you
yeah,
for
you like
that. That's
that?
awesome.
Little birdie
Oh,
gang.
awesome. That's sweet. Have you? Now I know we were talking before. Have you been out to Big Little Nine yet this year? I know you were getting there.
No, so I've got the clubs with me. I'm actually down in the Ocean City area right now. So I'm
Oh,
hoping
nice.
this weekend to sneak out maybe for a morning nine over at the Big Little Nine, because I've been itching to get over there.
Gotcha. So what I was gonna say is, as fun as that is, and it's a great time. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
This was also a great time, but different in a different way. the cradle,
Yeah.
where the big little nine you play around this lagoon, and each hole is kind of separate and independent of the other holes. This felt like one piece of property that even if you missed long, it was going to come rolling back down a hill, like almost like Linksy style. And
Yeah.
there's no water on the property. Um, Even if you missed it short, long left or long right, like you were just on the other hole. And there were so many hills on the course that they were funneling back down to the green. It felt like a playground.
Yeah.
Best way to describe best way to describe that. Joe, what did you think?
Yeah, same. You and I talked, and the one downside to it, right, was we went in there. We had such a packed agenda, which was awesome, but we went in there when we were about as tired as we were for the entire trip. So it was like maybe the first four holes had our full undivided attention, and then like the rest of the holes we had a drink in hand and we're swinging with one hand and like kind of just faking our way through. But great little course. The vibes were incredible, right, with the music going and the little bar up there. You can stop in and grab a drink. Um, Definitely loved the setup. I almost felt like Big Little Nine's a little bit more organized. Like it feels like a course, right? But a small course. Where this is just like, hey, we got an open field. Let's throw some par three holes here. But no, it was awesome. And like, if I were to do it again, I would do that one probably on arrival day, right? Even if you play arrival day, right? And like, as long as you're not playing like an afternoon round, when you're a little bit fresh, when you're still trying to get after it. But yeah, super fun time. And like, I looked at him during that round and said, I can't wait for the crossing to open.
I love
So,
that.
yeah.
It's I love what you said there, Joe. Like the vibe, I think, is one of the most important things in all of this right now because that was the whole vision with the crossing, and it's why I've really tried to stick with the branding and looking in certain areas to bring it to life because it's creating this feeling. It's this feeling of fun. It's this feeling of enjoyment. You feel like you're kind of taken out of the regular world and brought
Yep.
into a different place for a minute, and you're just hanging out and enjoying the company that you're with. And there's not many things in the world that you can do that in. And golf is one of those one places where you get to have this undivided attention. But when you're playing on an actual course, there's no one else around you for the most part. There's people on other holes. You may hear some music, but this is truly like everyone's out there having fun. Everyone's just out there having a good time. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or if you're the most seasoned pro, you're still just having fun because
Right.
it's not a pressure-filled environment. And Anthony, to your point, like the bounded hills and everything, why not? Like put a big ridge in the back with a 3-tier green where if you're going back pin placement, play it off the back hill, throw it deep and see what happens. And maybe you have a putt coming back down the hill. So there's so much fun that you can have with this. And I've been talking to a handful of architects and expanding my reach there. And they love this concept. They love building these. They love just what they can do with these green complexes because it's not a pitch and putt. You're not playing like dime size greens that have maybe a fake bunker or two. You're playing a course where you're looking at a piece of land and thinking, how can you make 9 holes or 13 holes or whatever it may be flowing through here and just let it live on its own and let it just have its own flair.
Yeah, and I think that's where they hit the mark too, right? Because we were talking a bit before we started recording about the intentional challenges that they throw at you on 2 and 10, right? And like the Donald Ross design and the Doak design, and some of these other architects that are intentionally, trying to challenge the golfer. This was intentionally the opposite. There's nothing difficult to it, nothing like over the top. It was, hey, when they come out here, it's to finish the day, get a few more swings in, have fun, walk around. It's another spot like I know Big Little Nine encourages, hey, take your shoes off, walk, play barefoot. They do too. Now we didn't, right? Because we've been walking around all day, with our spikes for other golf. But absolutely could like, and the one thing, if I could do it again, the other thing I would do again would be I would probably book another night, not to play the cradle, but to just go up and sit in the chairs, have a couple like by the bar, have a
Yeah.
couple drinks, and watch other people play, because it's super vibey like that. Music's blaring throughout the whole course. Great little spot to kind of sit outside, just shoot the shit and then watch people golf.
Now, did you guys hit Thistledew while you were there?
We were going to, but we didn't again because we had so much packed in. Thistledew is another one. Like what I had, the vision that I had in my head versus what it was totally different. So, all right, again, before we start recording, we were talking about that 120-yard putt. Who was it that was out there today?
Zach Blair.
Zach Blair, yeah.
Zach Blair. We were talking about that 120-yard putt that he he was making in the practice rounds before the Oakmont, right? For the Open at Oakmont. That's what I was envisioning Thistledew to be. There's like wide, like kind of the same scope and size of the cradle, but a little flatter, shorter grass, putting like that. But Thistledew is really just like if you picture, your practice green at any course, and then maybe make it like 4 times the size, right? With some extra holes. It's kind of like that. So we did not get that in. We had it planned, but I think opted for drinks and relaxation instead the one night.
You need a down day.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I almost wish like we could have talked to somebody about what our trip layout looked like versus what we probably should do. Now, like knowing this, like going back, I would plan it differently.
Yeah.
Like the cradle would be great, like after you drove on number 8, right, where you're not exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where you didn't just walk 10 and 2 back to back. Even Thistledew, like a day to go out and just play Thistledew in the cradle would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because the cradle itself is its own fun thing. It is an absolute vibe. And there's a bar along the way, so you're constantly like looping around. By the time you get your drink done, you're back up to the bar area and keep on going. There's music. It was like a speaker complex kind of like right in the middle playing.
There were a few spread out.
Oh, I didn't
one
see
in the
the
middle.
other one. I just saw the
Yeah,
one.
there's one in the middle, but there was like a couple spread out.
Okay.
Pretty perfectly, so no matter what hole you were on,
You could hear the music.
you still caught the music.
What was the music playing? Was it because that's always it's what do you put on those speakers?
You know what?
There was some 80s and early 90s on there.
It was a mix. It was a little bit of mix. You get a little classic rock in there. I wouldn't go so far. Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say hip hop, but you had some R&B.
Okay.
It was a
couple songs Joe absolutely vibing on. Something from Nickelback, which I'm a massive fan. I think even Creed came on at one point, and Joe was just rocking out.
My 2 favorite bands.
Yeah, good old Creed. You're totally listening to Photograph.
No, but yeah, I would A plus on the music, A plus on the on the bar. And it's funny because like when we first started, we're like, why is the bar all the way over there? Because you go to the starter shack and then you play 1 and the bar like seems all the way across, and then you play 2 and you still can't get to the bar, and then you play 3 and you're like, okay, now I can get to the bar. And then you realize you can get to the bar for pretty much from any hole after 3. We're like, all right, this works.
They did this right.
The mistake was we didn't go there first and then go to the starter shack.
Work back down, exactly.
I just like that it felt like the Big Little Nine feels like a challenge.
Yeah.
Right. Not that it's hard. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Big Little Nine. It feels like a course, which I absolutely love. Right. Yeah. And then you can also play like the short tees. Maybe if you're a beginner or something like that, if you want to play the short tees, or anybody can play the short tees, you're still getting somewhat of a challenge, but it's a little bit easier, right? This just felt like you could take your putter out and you could putt on every hole. There was no forced carries. Everything was the short. It was a golf playground. Yeah. You could do whatever you want. You could have everyone's going to use their putter on 1. Everyone's going to use this wedge on 2. You could play closest to the hole. It's an absolute gambling environment. Just throw some money around, have some fun. Yeah. Even the starter is like encouraging the vibes out there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I brought 4 clubs with me. I think I only used 2.
Yeah.
Right. Because I wound up I brought my pitching wedge because I thought there was one hole that was longer, and I wound up not needing it. I think I really only used my 54 and my putter.
Because
Basically, it.
everything's mainly under 100, right? They have a couple that
Yeah,
are
What's
like
the longest
at
that
there's
day?
100,
two. There were two that were
120 something?
127. Yeah,
120.
The card
but
does show like a 140 something.
Mhm. If they
But
really
when
pull.
you got to was there a sign or something on the outside of the starter box, like
so
longest hole playing 120 something today?
so
Mm.
what they do is when you go to a normal course, right? And it's funny because we just joked with Anthony's dad about this a couple of rounds ago. When you go to a normal course, you'll see white tees are 314, blue tees are 345, and like that's a static number
Yeah.
that's there regardless of where the box is and where the pin location is, right? But here it does look like it's a static thing because it's not written on there. It's printed out. But they at the beginning of each day they laser every pin from the box and then they put that day's number up there. So when you walk up and it says 121, it should be 121 to the pin from your T location.
That's awesome.
But that being said, it did feel like some of them were a little bit off, right? Because like we pull a club and we're like, that was like, well, how did we wind up that short?
Tired arms. Tired
Yeah,
Tired
arms.
arms,
that's true, true.
cocktails. It's hitting
Cocktails.
Tired
six
arms,
inches behind the
cocktails,
ball.
yeah. All right,
Yeah.
it probably was.
After a few at the deuce, it was
Right.
cocktails involved there.
That's cool. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. That was kind of a lot of the vision that came in with the crossing was just seeing how fun these things are and just the amount of attention they're getting. I mean, you guys probably saw it during the Masters. They announced that the Augusta Municipal Course that they're going to build a 9-hole short course with Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
So like it's all happening. The problem with our area is like if you talk to courses, there's no extra land. So like you can't even build on another course unless it's a private club that is like sitting on acreage that they don't even know what to do with. But for the most part, we're just limited in public golf. So that's where there's a lot of land sitting in townships. There's a lot of land sitting in private ownership that there's ways to donate that, especially to the first tee. There's ways to put that donation in to help support the cause.
You know what? There's a lot of dying malls out there. I don't see anyone going to the Montgomeryville Mall anymore. What are we doing with
That's
that
true.
land?
Take over part of that parking lot.
Right?
Garden golf and sports around too.
That's a big enough area that I mean
It's
I don't know
true.
how difficult and how long it would be to grow grass there over the asphalt, but hey, turn that into some green space and get a par three course in there.
That's true. I have a guy that helps me out with some course purchase acquisitions, like looking for courses that may be up for sale. And Freddie Hill Farms, when that came up, I was like, go quick. But
We
it had already been bought by a developer. So unfortunately,
do you know what's going on with that? Because Anthony and I talked about you as soon as we heard that. We're like, ooh,
yeah. Oh gosh, I was all in, guys. I was getting the army ready to go chase that one down. But it was a developer is putting a proposal through to put a neighborhood in on like the back 90 acres, and I think even on the front side. I don't know what they'll do on the whole thing, but I know they were putting a proposal in potentially to turn that into housing development.
I'm sure I'm probably like super late to the game, but I should get over there and be like, what are you guys doing with all the sim equipment?
Yeah, exactly. Try to clear some of that out.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about the Cradle is I love how it can be what you want it to be, right? Like whatever your group wants it to be that day, or whatever you want it to be that day. It can be a challenge, or it can be fun, and it can be everything in between. So you can go ahead and I'm gonna go work on my irons today, and I'm really
Yeah.
gonna try and dial them in, right? And that's kind of the idea I'm going over for. Or like we said, you can go and just walk around with a group of buddies and grab two clubs and have a great time. I
Yeah.
even questioned to Joe, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to bring a putter. I'm like, I'm just trying to get it close to the pin and I'll move on from there. And
Right.
everyone's like, you're not bringing a putter? I'm like,
Inside the flag stick rules.
yeah, like
Exactly.
guys, like what's the difference? Like we're out there having a good time. Like I've already played two. Like I've dominated two already. Like
Yeah.
no, let's go have some fun on the Cradle.
Seriously. And that's what I mean, listen, you don't have to you don't have to make it hard. I had the opportunity, a gentleman I met has turned into a good friend. He took me up recently to Hamilton Farm it was one of the first fully rated par 3 courses. So it's actually USGA rated. So like if you go into my gym right now, it looks like I shot 54 somewhere. It was a par 3 course. It was not, there was no 54 on a full 18, but it's just so cool. Like it's so cool to just play par 3 after par 3 after par 3, and especially in the wedge game. Like the wedge game is everything. There's plenty of times where I've chunked the 4-iron to try to get it on the green, and now you've got a 80-yard shot to try to play it in. That's where you score. That's where you win. But it's also where you have the most fun, because it's that day I was an inch from an ace on 120-yard par 3. So that's where the excitement builds. Is you got to give more people shots on goal. We want to see that ball enter the hole once in a while.
I love that.
That's sweet. Joe, anything else about Pinehurst you wanted to bring up?
Dude, that's a separate episode.
It is.
No, it's.
I will bring one thing up though, buddy. So never let it be known that Joe Meenan does not follow through on his debts. So he's owed me for two different bets.
Yep.
But my man came through and he took care of me at Pinehurst.
Sharp.
Right? So shout out to Joe. Appreciate it, buddy.
Nice.
I had to give you a little bit of a plug here. So let's get into the Ryder Cup here a little bit.
Yeah.
So this year it's going to be at Bethpage Black. Now we have never played Bethpage. Have you tried?
Gotta get up there. I have. It's no lie, guys, it ruined my game for an entire year. Like it
really?
it was hard. I played April. It wasn't that warm yet, and it was it just was so hard. Went through pain I did play from pretty far back, not the full tips, but I probably shouldn't have gone all the way back.
What?
So you're saying we should play from the ladies or seniors?
Tee it up in the fairway. I played. There was
defense mechanisms there. Like what? I always hear everyone tell me how difficult the course is. Like what makes that course difficult?
It's you know what it is. So the rough does get built up, so you have to keep it in the fairway. But even like for example, the first hole is not that hard, but you have to place it perfectly. If you pull it a little left, you're in fescue. If you push it a little right, you're in trees and you're blocked out. And then the greens kind of all have a little bit of unique break to them, where if you land it in the wrong spot, it just runs and it'll just go away. So you just have to make sure you're landing it in the right spot in the fairway and then the right spot on the green. Like it's truly a placement golf course. I mean, same thing. And then you go from dogleg right to dogleg left. Then you go to a monster par 3. Then you go to a big par 5 that you're jumping over giant bunker setups. And you close the front 9 out with, I bombed the drive. I had 220 left in and tried to hit a high cut 3-iron into the green, and you can't hold it. Like you truly can't hold it unless you're a tour pro that's dropping it out of the sky with like a nice little parachute on it. So it's it's a big course that requires finesse, which is like generally two things that don't go together. You're either a bomber or you're finesse. And if you have both, you're Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah. I don't have either, so that makes it a problem for me.
So is the rough then able to be dialed up like Oakmont, or are we talking more like Linksy fescue type of rough? Like what are we looking at?
So it's not going to be, so Oakmont's a special breed. Whatever grass they've grown there it's scary. I kind of wish I could grow it on my head, to be honest with you. I'd love to harness whatever juice they have going into that for hair regrowth. But it's, you see that grass like intertwines. This is like, I guess the best way to think about it is like the guy in your neighborhood or the gal in your neighborhood who has like the best lawn that you're super jealous with. If they let it grow for a week while they're on vacation, you're like, oh man, I could lose a shoe in there. That's kind of what this is. Like it just can get to a level of height that it's so thick that you just have to be careful what club you put on it. But again, then you're trying to hit something high and soft, and that's generally not how a ball comes out of the rough. So you're now trying to think about how you can navigate back to the green from 180 or 160 with deep rough and a green that's running away from you.
It's funny because I was just going to joke that I am that guy that was on vacation for a week and didn't cut his lawn. But no one in my neighborhood is saying he's got the best lawn. It's very much the opposite.
No, but Oakmont is completely jealous of your
Right.
lawn when you
So
don't.
out back, if we were to try to play bucket golf out back in my yard right now, it would probably be like Oakmont.
Yeah, Oakmont would be easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
It doesn't come up to your knees in Oakmont.
I
Wow,
had played
that's
when I played Bethpage. I got paired with two guys out of Brooklyn. The one guy, he was a good player. He said he was a 2. I think he shot 98 that day, and that was a generous 98. Like it just it eats you alive. Like it once you get down a path, it doesn't let up. Like there's not a hole where you're like, oh, good. I've got this one in the bag. Like there's not a hole like that out there.
And it's incredible for the amount of money that you pay to get that torture too. Right? It's like, this is not like, hey, we're going to go out. Like, we're paying a lot of money to inflict torture upon ourselves at that point.
100%. It's the beauty
Maybe it's a
of golf.
blessing in disguise that we didn't get that in last year. Right? Yeah.
right.
It's worth
We
it.
were trying to get that on the way up to Boston last year.
Oh, nice. I would try. To get out there. It is truly, especially the fact that it's part of the park system, and like it's a gem. I mean, it is such a cool experience, but you just have to go in with the understanding you're not going to shoot your career best out there that
Yeah.
day.
And that's it. And I think that's a good rule of thumb for anyone out there who's getting ready to play a bucket list course, right? Or, a really high end course that you haven't played before. I would say not only did that make this Pinehurst trip significantly more fun for all of us, we actually all probably shot better than we would have because we went in with zero expectation. There was no pressure. I'll tell you, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before. I don't know if you've heard it before, Mike. I frequently mention last time we went down to North Carolina, day 3, right? And this is the first year that I kind of jumped fully back into golf. I was tanking on day 3, and it was the third hole at this place called Umstead Pines, par 3. I shanked my first 2 holes were awful. I shanked my third shot, and I was like 68 out. I'm sorry, I shanked my tee shot on the third. And I was like 68 yards out, and I somehow chipped it in from 68, and that like brought me back, and I was in. I'm golfing now.
Yeah.
I had the same on number 2 this year, so I went double par, and was off to a bad start with my drive on the third hole, and that was the ball that I lost. Right, so I lost it in someone's yard. Had a decent drive, but it went off to the left, and didn't want to look for it, so I dropped. So I'm now hitting 3 from the pine straw in the behind the trees. I dropped this thing 3 feet from the pin.
That's awesome.
And I was like, all right, I'm back. And from that point on, had a great round.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's crazy. Like every once in a while that will happen, recenter you. But yeah, go into these rounds, especially on these tougher courses, go into these rounds with zero expectations, enjoy the view, enjoy the experience, and just have fun. Because otherwise, it's going to be nasty.
Oh, yeah. It's the best advice you can give. And I think that's where golf architecture is such a really interesting thing if you take a minute to stop and look, but no one's out there looking at it. So if you just go out there and enjoy your walk, and that's why I love walking golf courses. I think it's one of the greatest things because you can slow down, look, think about why did this crazy golf architect decide to do it the way they did. But there's just it's an action, it's a passion, it's so cool to take all of that in, and it just makes the whole golf game more enjoyable, especially when you just made a triple on the hole that they wanted you to make triple on.
Exactly. Yep.
Mike, whose game, U.S. or Europe, whose game do you think this sets up to have a better week at?
At Bethpage.
Yeah, Bethpage.
Yeah, it's guys, I was looking at the list of the US rankings right now, and I want to say I love I love the U.S. team. I will always support the U.S. team. But when you look at, you've got Rory, you've got Shane Lowry as the top two right now. You've got Ludwig. Like, you've got some unbelievable talent sitting there on the European team. But like, you also have New York. Like, it is, you can't discount the fans in New York and what they're going to do to that U.S. team at this Ryder Cup. So I don't know. I'm all in on the. I think the U.S. team will rally on this one, and I think we'll get some newer guys that maybe haven't played in a Ryder Cup before. That you're going to see some crazy vibes coming out of them because of the energy that the fans will bring. If it was the same U.S. team in Europe, I think we'd get absolutely host. But I
Yeah.
feel that having that home field advantage, and if it was in Iowa or if it was in California or it was in even Pennsylvania, like, you're getting the New York fan, which is just a very different fan at the end of the day.
I'm looking at this list though, and I agree with you, Mike, on the top six, right? So I'm aside from Scotty,
Yep.
right? The top six, I feel like Europe is significantly stronger.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a big drop off for Europe though on that back six, right? That's 7 through 12. Where, I mean, not to say that the US has like an amazing roster there, but I feel like the US 7 through 12 right now, let's say let's say these two teams go chalk, right?
Yeah.
Just the top 12 on each team. The names that I'm seeing for 7 through 12 on the European team aren't necessarily like scary. Top six are. Bottom six, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are on
I don't
different
disagree.
pages.
Huh?
We are on different pages.
For real? Maybe my list is bad because I'm looking at. I don't know that I got a good list
All
from.
right, let's get into the list. But right before we do, so I, I'm kind of with Mike on this. Like, I'll be riding hard for US, but looking at this Europe team and seeing what they did on that course last 2 years ago, where the rough was really thick. If you're telling me
Yeah.
this could be thick rough like that, and I'm looking at these lineups, 12 for 12, or even if you want to throw in Hovland at 13, 13 for 13, we get smoked. We're getting smoked. I mean, we're going to have to make some really interesting captain's picks to rally this team.
The
So, good.
yeah, the other thing, like, Rahm's 24, and that's all because of he's not playing DP, he's not playing PGA, so he's not getting the points.
Mm-hmm.
So Rahm, I mean, you bring Rahm up into a captain's pick. Look at his majors this year. Like, so that's where you have to look because so many of the Europeans have kind of defected over to the Live Tour. You got to go a lot deeper to see, okay, who's the list actually going to turn into? Where in the US, it's not the same depth of who we lost to Live. We lost the senior home and a few others to Live, but not to the scale that the Europeans did. Cam Smith, you've got Rahm. Like, these are guys that aren't showing up on any list right now because of where they're playing.
Yeah, so we got, let's see. So if it ended today, right, and they were putting in picks today, the people that qualify automatically for Europe, Rory, Shane, Straka,
Yeah.
anybody on that Hogard?
Hogard.
All right, Hatton and Fleetwood. All right,
And
so then
now
we
it's
got, yeah, so then 7 through, see, and you're right about Rom being in 24th. But if you just went 7 through 12, I mean, you got Oberg, Rose, Dietrich, Wallace, McIntyre, Norgard coming in at 12. I mean, you could put Hovland in, take Norgard out. You could bring Rom in, move out Dietrich.
yeah.
I mean, now you're looking at Oberg, Rose, Rom, Wallace, McIntyre, Hovland are your
Yeah.
captains.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Nasty. And if you want to compare that to where US is at, and again, I think top six for top six, we've got a chance, right? Scheffler, who has already qualified. Then you got Shoffley, DeChambeau, Thomas, Morikawa, Henley. I
That's
mean,
the other thing. My list is not including all the live guys. I need to get the live guys in there.
Well, like
those
Cam
six,
Smith.
yeah,
Cam Smith doesn't even show up on the list because I don't think he has played an event outside of Live. He's gone fishing and he's
So be
played
an
Live. So like,
automatic captain's pick, like right in there.
he could sneak right up in there. Like, that's where
Yeah.
you just that's the thing that's scary about Europe.
and he's playing this weekend too, right?
I think he is out there this weekend.
Yeah, so he could potentially get some points out of it, and then he's making himself eligible too.
Yep.
Um, but then like you look at our back six. If they just went, if he decided to just go with the six, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, he's probably not, right? Um, Ben Griffin, Mav McNeely. I'm a fan of Mav, right? And I kind
Yep.
of like having somebody younger in there that's kind of your future guy getting used to playing in this. Harris English, Andrew Novak, Brian Harmon. I mean, kind of flopped last time.
Yeah.
I like Cantlay. I mean, that guy just got to be
Oh,
Yeah.
captain's pick.
he's a quick captain's pick as long as he doesn't make everyone mad again. And then, guys,
But
big
I mean, he's
question.
got that. He's got that fire. Like some
Oh
guys
yeah.
are just they know how to play the Ryder Cup.
I Keegan Bradley, captain. He could play himself into the top 12. Does he make himself a captain's pick, or does he
we
is he a playing captain?
Yeah, Joe, I'll let you
A-
take this one first.
Anthony and I had this exact discussion. I think what was our Masters? No, it was the happy hour one that we did while we were watching the Masters.
Hmm.
I think we talked about this exact scenario, right? Does he put himself in? I only know what I know about Keegan Bradley based on a season and a half of full swing.
Yeah.
My guess, my best guess, based on just what I've seen of his like kind of character, I only see him putting himself in if he's top 12.
Yeah.
I do think he will put himself in if he's top 12.
Yeah.
I don't think if he's 13, 14, 15, I don't think he puts himself in.
No.
But I do think he does if he's top 12.
Yeah.
There's only one person recently that has done it, and I think because he should have, and it's Tiger, right, for the President's Cup.
Yeah.
I Unless he is number six or above, I don't think he should take himself.
How
And I
how
say
much
this
of a
because I don't think a
distraction?
captain
Yeah.
should be playing and trying to be the captain.
How much of a distraction would you say that it is, right? Week of, because like aren't most of these strategic captain decisions kind of laid out in advance where you can kind of just go out and play week of?
A lot of them are until you see where people's game is that week, because you may have someone coming in that needs some support and you got to switch the matches up a little bit, or their game just isn't as tight as you were hoping. So a lot of it will be baked, but there is that on the fly mentality of who needs
Yeah.
to come in and who needs to come out.
I feel like you could still do that like within a couple hours at the end of each day though, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't think it takes too much away from your ability to get out there and play. So from that angle, it's not like you're trying to be a player coach in a basketball game, right?
Yeah.
And do two things at the same time. It's more like I'm going to coach on Thursday night for Friday morning. I'm going to coach on Friday night for Saturday morning. It's more like that. You're not trying to do both at the same time.
Yeah.
I would disagree because I think it would be easier to be a basketball coach and player because once the game gets going, right? You're playing, right? You can call plays from the court. You're just playing.
That's how I see this scenario.
Okay, so you go out Friday morning and you're in the middle of playing, and then the moment you walk off, time to make picks. So now you have to worry about, well, what was everyone doing this morning? So I can quickly match them up with what was going on in the afternoon. So basically what you'd be doing at that point is you're putting all of that work onto your assistant captains to watch all of that. And you're saying I'm entrusting you guys to give me all of this feedback. Which again,
Fair.
I feel like if you're the captain, you should be the captain.
That's
Own
fair.
that
So
responsibility.
you don't get the benefit in that scenario of seeing live, who did what, right? And you don't really have the time to go through and watch all
No
the
time.
matches.
You're
Yeah,
constantly rushing because
that's
you're
fair.
going from like being a captain to being a player back to being a unless you had this idea of, look, I'm not going to play days Friday and Saturday. I'm only going to
Yeah.
play singles on Sunday. Then I could understand if he wanted to do that. Because then all you're doing is you're just doing matchups, and Sunday you give yourself that matchup, and then you get out
It's
there
set
and
it
Yeah.
and
play.
forget. It's
But then
set it
you're
and
taking
forget it at
somebody
that
away
point.
from
Yeah.
potentially getting a point for you guys.
Yeah. I'm where you're at, Anthony. I think if you're 6, you earn your spot. It's kind of hard to say no to it, but at the same token, golf is played between the 6 inches between the ears, and to have your head in two places in a scenario like that on a course like Bethpage, like I don't know, I struggle with him playing unless he truly. If he comes up and he's number 6, then you're kind of like, okay, well, why do we make this guy the captain? We should have gone with someone on the Champions Tour like we usually do.
Yeah.
Do you bail out of the captain pick?
If you become 6, I think you bring Kisner up there into your captain and you make
Something,
him
right?
the leader.
Something. Or
Yeah.
or you go, listen, my assistant captains are going to take this one. I'm going to play. And I'm just
Yeah.
going to focus on playing.
If you're going to help the U.S. win a Ryder Cup because your game's that tight, you go in with that swag.
Yeah, this isn't
Like
the
you need to have
President's
that
Cup.
swag.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
isn't the President's Cup.
No,
We're
this
not
is big.
walking in 12 points up already.
And honestly, like to earn a top 6 spot is not easy. So like
No.
if you're playing to that level, you may not play to that level ever again in your career. So you kind of have to like strike while the iron's hot and some of that. So maybe top 8. I'll go top 8 where you pick yourself.
Yeah, it's difficult. I got to imagine it's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And all right. So it looks like our lists are completely different right now. At the moment, I got Keegs at 25 on my list.
Yeah, Keegs is at 17 on the Ryder Cup listing.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I asked for the wrong thing. I think I went straight FedEx. I don't know what I got on mine, but in any event,
From a
he's
captain's
probably
point of
striking
view.
distance. Huh?
No, what's that good? I cut you off.
I,
Good.
I said in any event, he's probably within striking distance if he has a couple good tournaments.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, he plays well this week and then he moves up. I mean, he's got
Yeah, especially in a major and elevated.
he's only back
he's
like
almost
139. No, 141. He's only back 141 points. He is within striking distance.
yeah, he's getting close.
Oh wait, no, I'm looking. Whoa. Never
No,
mind.
he is
No.
close. I mean, he's about 3,000 points out of like top 8.
Oh, for top 8, yeah,
Yeah,
top 12, he is like
about
15,
1,500.
1500.
Interesting.
He's got some work to do.
He does have
But
some.
at the end of the day, if he wants to be that captain, go be the captain. Go all in.
That's it.
I've actually said for a long time, why does the captain of the team have to be a PGA golfer?
It's true.
Like, why can't this be a college golf coach? Isn't that what they're doing?
So
Aren't they doing pairings in college golf? Isn't that what's happening regularly?
you and I talked about this a couple, like I think it was probably about a year and a half ago as well. I think it was Coach K, right? Signed on for X number of years to be the U.S. basketball coach. I don't know how many years it was, right? But it was, hey, you're going to be the guy and you're going to do it for X number of years. That way, like, it's a consistent person who's in that position and is rotating players through, knows the structure of it. I would agree. Why not have someone like that, right? Like, make it a prove it situation, right? So if they're doing well, they stay in that spot. If they're struggling, boot them and get someone else. No different than your national team coaches for soccer, or your Olympic coaches for basketball, or things like that. It's very similar. So
Yeah.
why not have a standard person who's constantly evaluating the field specifically for that one event?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And maybe
Somebody
you
who's
stick with the
consistent.
top 6, right? You stick with the top 6, but then the next 6 and all the pairings and stuff like that is done by this guy who's analyzed. I mean, Mel Kiper made a career on just analyzing draft picks, right? It's all he did. Have one person who that's their career. They just analyze, who's the best fit for the Ryder Cup from the U.S. team.
Yeah, I'd love to see some more consistency there.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
disagree with you guys on that. I
yeah,
think
but why
there's,
not a college coach?
yeah, someone that's living it.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then
Dion,
you're
right?
getting a lot of
Let's put
these
Dion
younger
there.
guys in. You could bring in if you're getting one of these a lot of younger guys into the Ryder Cup. Why not bring in one of their coaches?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, one of these long-term UT coaches, UVA, like some of these guys have coached probably half of these tour players.
yeah. Maybe Coach Prime, like you said, can
Coach
step up to the
Prime's got
plate
all
here.
day.
Or
Who's
Ted Lasso.
somebody?
Where's Ted Lasso?
That's true.
Who's somebody? Let's go. Let's start with U.S. Who's somebody outside of this top 12, we'll say, that needs to be considered?
So if Sam Burns keeps playing on an upward tick, I Sam Burns has the energy. Sam Burns has the length. Like Sam Burns would be a great addition to the U.S. team outside of that top 12 right now, from my perspective.
I like that one. Yeah, he's got some power too, Sam Burns.
Yeah,
I think I think there's a few here, right? Like I'm running down the list. Would love to see Homa be considered because I feel like
I
he
love
was a
Homa.
good part of that one 2 years ago. And I
Yep,
feel like that was I believe that was his first time in the Ryder Cup.
it
So now
was,
he's
yeah.
kind of getting that mentality down and he's somebody I feel like really rides hard for the US. Um
He's a high energy guy too,
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
which is
high
good.
energy.
You need a couple high energy guys.
But I feel like if I was to look at all these guys and make a pick, Thigala.
Oh, I
Sahih.
love Sith.
Just some of the things I've heard about him in college and the type of gamer he was like the one story him being on the range before a match and purposely hitting shanks just so they would pair like their worst player with him and then he would go out and light them up like that's just somebody like he's a gamer like he
Yeah,
gets the game and I feel like this is not stroke play. There's a whole nother aspect to match play.
yep. I like that pick. I like that pick a lot.
And he's right now he's 37th. But man, would I love to see him get picked.
Yeah, the bad boy of golf is still floating around in here. Patty Reed.
I I was gonna say him, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Superman died a long time ago.
Right. He's one of those, he's like the guy that you invite over your house that never leaves. And you're like, dude, I needed you to get out of here 6 hours
Easily,
ago. Like,
yeah.
time to get out.
Guy, why are you still here, man?
Yeah, exactly.
I've told you 3 times to leave.
Yeah, I stopped giving you drinks 6 hours ago.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, man. He had his moment in the sun that
He
year that
did.
him and I feel like he was paired with like Phil.
Was it Phil that year?
Or was it or what maybe it was Spieth. I don't know, but
Speed, maybe.
he was going off and then he was matched up against McElroy and they had like this big match. I feel like it was like 2016.
Yeah.
And what a match too on Saturday, the two of them, and then on Sunday. And then I feel like by 2 years later, he's everyone hates him 2 years
Yeah.
later.
When
He's
you start
grounding his
cheating at
club in the
golf.
sand,
Yeah, exactly. Fluffing the ball in the rough. Like
fluffing the ball up.
he did everything he could
Yeah.
to create hate.
Oh, there was a hole in the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Here's one who's in the top 12, I think, at the moment, but has been kind of lighting it up lately is Andrew Novak.
Yeah.
I feel like he's one to possibly keep an eye on, and if he continues the hot streak, has to be a consideration.
All right. I like that. All right, let's go to Europe.
Europe.
Outside, now I know we mentioned Rom already.
Yeah, take him off the plate.
Yeah, who's somebody else outside of that top that 7 through 12 spot?
I'm not going to go Victor because he's 13, so like he can easily play his way in right now.
Mhm. I feel you mentioned one earlier, Cam Smith. I feel like he's another Patrick Reed. Like he had his moment in the sun with oh, who did he get paired with? Molinari.
Yeah.
Him and Molinari just had they had their year. They're done. They're out.
Gosh, Matt Fitzpatrick's not.
Dude, I
He
am
is way
staring
down
him
the
down
list
right
right
now,
now,
bud. Yeah.
right? Because I don't know. I think that course. I don't know if he has the mental fortitude right now to play that course.
Does Alex Fitzpatrick have that mental fortitude?
To be honest, I think I'd take Alex over over Matt right now out there. Aaron Rye is an interesting one. I think I'd pull an Aaron Rye here. Guy wears two gloves and has club head covers, but I respect the hustle in that man.
Honestly, once you get outside, I'm gonna say the top 13.
Falls apart.
Yeah. I feel like there's more picks outside of the 13 on the US side than there is on
Yeah.
Europe. I just think that they're just top loaded.
This is though like it goes back to the concern of Liv and who's just not getting the points right now.
Yeah. Is there a heftier balance of European golfers that went to live versus US in terms of top guys?
So here I just got the stat. Only 18.5% of current live golfers are Americans.
Oh wow.
So you've got 80% of live is European.
And it's probably what 60% of PGA is US, right? Something like that.
Yeah, there's so many on the PGA.
Well, it's certainly going to be interesting. I think that's what we're establishing here.
Yeah, I'm going through this Europe. This is
I'm flipping back and forth between the two lists.
I do think that US could put a team together.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's going to be about the captain's picks
It,
for the
it,
US.
it is, and I think that's I don't know if I said it the right way last time, but I feel like we have a deeper bench when it comes to that.
Yeah,
That back six.
I agree with you on that. I think with the right pairings too, you can really bring it.
And here's the thing: if the captain views this the same way as we do, right? Where it seems like the European team is going to be a lot more predictable than the U.S. team. He may be able to look at that and have a better interpretation, right? And say, all right, they're probably going with these 12, right? Or with these six for the back end. And then use that to inform his picks of his back six, right? Like who's gonna match up well against the skill sets of those other six. So maybe there's a benefit there and a benefit to having that deeper bench, but I don't know. Now, the other thing that we talked about for last year's Ryder Cup, Anthony, was I think there was a few like course conditions, right, that Europe used to their advantage. At Bethpage, anything that the U.S. can do to have a similar impact on the result?
Oh, like a course setup.
Yeah, pin location,
I mean, I don't.
like height
I
of the
think this would be
grass.
for Mike. Like Mike, what do you know the course better than us?
It's just looking at that group, like I, I don't know if there's a way to play that course in a way that just gives an advantage. I anchor back to the fans. I think it's going to be the pressure of the booze after a bad shot that is just going to break you down mentally.
And
And
then when you say
that's
booze, I interpret that in two different ways, right?
that's well, the booze is going to lead to some more booze that come out there. But they that's where I think you'll just find. I think the course is going to be tough, but it's who's going to be able to make it through 18 holes, especially in match play, where you have people recovering from places or you have putts dropping in from other spots. That's where you have to just not let it break you down. And when you have the emotion of the Ryder Cup mixed with the challenge of the course emotion, mixed with cheers versus booze, like that's where you start getting into, I think, a differentiation factor.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun, that's for sure.
Do you think that DeChambeau's game, and this is not a knock against DeChambeau. I already know, Joe, you think I'm not a fan of his already, right? Like, I'm not a big fan of the bomb and gouge. But do you think that that actually does not fit well at a course like Bethpage Black? Or do you think his game he could pick it apart like Whistling Straits? I think he had
Yeah.
some success.
I'm just going through some of the holes in my head. You can't cut corners there. I mean, it is one, you can cut the corner. He could probably bomb it over the trees, land it 30 yards from the green. Two, you have to hit it over pretty much a tree that was there for the American Revolution. Like it is, these things are tall, and it's a shoot. Like you're truly hitting a shoot and then hitting to a green. So raised up green. I think where you'll see advantages with him is his iron play on par threes. There's some pretty big boy par threes there that he'll have shorter irons in, but it's going to be all down to putting. If his putting's hot that week, he also like he can get his short game going, then he can be a player out there. But there's a handful of holes that he truly can go and blast, and if he puts in the fairway, I mean, people aren't going to be anywhere near where he's at, and it'll definitely give him an advantage.
And that's where some of the strategy comes into play, right? Like,
Yeah,
maybe he's more useful in some of the alternate shot or best ball formats, right? Versus, the singles. So maybe he's someone you rely more heavily on in those formats and not so much in a single piece.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like when you go probably 5 through 14, that's probably the most open part of the course. There's a couple still tight areas of there. 9 gets a little tight, but for the most part, you're starting to get into some more openness that takes a lot of the tree issue out of the play. But if the fescue's high, you're done. Like it's a bird's nest underneath that.
Yeah, like this week for Oakmont, I watched a little bit of, people dissecting, Oakmont. Now I've obviously never been there. I don't know what it's like, but they seem to think that he could put himself in a position to benefit here. So,
Yep.
I think the one bet that I wrote a little bit with was a Scotty win with a DeChambeau. I forget if I went top 5 or top 10. I think I went top 10. I think I went Scotty win, Bryson top 10.
Yeah.
Parlay.
Both should be up there this week.
He could be in the mix. So,
yeah, I don't disagree. It's a lot of great golf this year, guys.
It is. It is.
All right. This was fun. Any final thoughts?
I appreciate you guys having me on again. Always good catching up with you, and hopefully, next time we chat, I've got some land secured. So, shameless plug again. You got land? Hit me up.
Absolutely, always a good time, Mike, and you're absolutely welcome to come back on and give us updates. Like I said, we're rooting hard.
I appreciate
it. You can reach out to Mike on Instagram at The Crossing. Right? Is it at The Crossing?
It's at The Crossing _GC.
_GC. Okay, and then your website? Hit him with the website.
CrossingGC.com, or drop me an email at mike@thecrossinggc.com.
Awesome.
And I can't remember if Mike gave us an album, but I'm totally down for him to give us another one if he did, if he's got one.
I've been playing. I've been going back and forth right now. I'm enjoying some Morgan Wallen. He's been solid. And then if I really feel like throwing it back to high school days, I throw a little TI on in the car, just to get some Rubber Band Man back out here again.
Let's see. You had Stapleton last time.
Stapleton was last time. Yeah.
I think so. You gave us Stapleton. I think we need to throw some TI on.
Let's go TI. I like that pick.
Yeah. I'll give a little shout out to one of my cousins who zero chance she listens to this. So I might have to send her this episode.
Big fan. Big fan of the show.
Yeah, super big fan of the show. She loves sports, loves golf. For the longest time, she thought the one TI song was "I want Joe Biden, I need Joe Biden," and it became this like inside family joke. So, hey, Cheese, if you're listening, you're getting a shout out to a podcast you're never going to listen to.
Awesome.
That's good.
Mike, you're always welcome on. Appreciate catching up with you. We got to get out and golf this year.
For sure. Looking forward to teeing it up, guys.
Love it.
Awesome. All right.
All right. Good seeing you,
Thank you
fellas.
all for joining.
All right,
Appreciate
brother.
your
Take it
time.
easy.
See you.
Take care, guys.